Another amazing guest for you today. We have with us Dr. Joan Hangarter, or Joan of Angels, who is a doctor of chiropractic, international speaker, and transformational guide who draws on over 4 decades of experience to help individuals protect their identity, overcome emotional trauma, and rebuild their lives. By combining her esoteric chiropractic expertise with practical tools from Legal Shield and ID Shield, she empowers them to recover from identity theft and thrive with renewed confidence. Dr. Joan, welcome to the show.
Hello, 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 Chris. I am very happy to be here.
Oh, and we're very happy to have you here today, and we have some exciting things to dig into. But before we do, we always like to have an icebreaker on this show. And the question for you today is: which cartoon character do you resonate with the most, and why?
Okay, so being a Pisces, I resonate with different characters at different times. But as you mentioned that, I started to think of Popeye, Popeye the Sailor Man. And what I loved about Popeye was that he was always drinking his spinach. He's like attributing all that strength to spinach, and you can see him chugging it down. And honestly, sometimes I'm like that about juice and about my smoothies and my nutrition. And I do feel it makes me strong. So I think there's a good commonality there.
I like that one. I used to love Popeye and olive oil, but I think my favorite was that guy that used to chase the duck around with the meat grinder trying to make hamburgers.
Oh, that one. Yeah, yeah. Well, there's that. There's been a lot of characters, a lot of cartoon characters that are easy to relate to. So,
Right. And so, Dr. Joan, why don't you tell us, what does procrastination mean to you? How do you define it? And what does
oh,
it mean to you personally?
you know, procrastination is like having a wall between you and your dreams. It's like having something that almost seems as if you can't clear away the obstacles or the mess around it. So to me, procrastination means that I have something that's between me and what it is that I say I desire or what I'm to do. And that causes, I think, a lot of blocks. Number one, for me, if I don't accomplish what I have in my agenda, I get depressed. I start feeling lost. I I don't know how I can cope with that. I'm structured. I like to start a task and finish it. So, but do I procrastinate? Oh yeah, there's lots of fun things you can do to procrastinate, but the whole time you know that you're just trying to distract yourself in the end. So,
Okay. And, we all know that there's no real silver bullet, and, there's many ways to deal with it. But what's your secret sauce for overcoming procrastination?
well, I think it's in having the why. If you have a really good why, it's easy to overcome because then you just kick yourself out of the way, boom, and you keep going for what it is you want. So, procrastination, the opposite, I guess, of procrastination is focus, like focused intention, focused action. So, I think for me, I really prefer being focused. And so I really go back to what is my purpose? Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to be on this show today? Why do I want to write this email, or what is it that's motivating me? Well, I want people to know that I can help them in different ways, that my whole life is my world is about helping other people. So when I get that, then it helps me move forward, because it's like, well, what if you didn't do this? And I've had a lot of people come up and thank me for my books on miracles, thank me for the coaching that I do, and the chiropractic work I did. So I learned that they wouldn't have gotten better in the way they did if they hadn't worked with me, and it made me want to step up more and be available.
No, I like that. I definitely like that. And just as a segue from that, you mean you have a very interesting backstory, and I'm sure we'd all love to hear a little bit about your journey. So, where did you come from, and how did you get to where you are today?
Uh, that's incredible. I have no idea how. I was really a very normal kid, listened to everyone, didn't have a outrageous thought in my head. I was a conformist, everything. But I got to college and I ended up being guided to become a chiropractor, which worked really well for me. It was sort of like an accidental drop in. And I ended up going to chiropractic school, and that changed my entire life. Becoming a chiropractor allowed me to start really looking at like you are what you eat and health, wealth, and happiness and your well being. And so that guided my life for many, many years in terms of teaching people how to get healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. It sort of all went hand in hand. And a few years ago, I was told to paint 33 angels in 30 days, and that's how I got the name Joan of Angels. And I've been writing books on miracles. My next book is going to be Angels and Miracles. And if any of you have any stories, you can send them to me because I'm collecting angel and miracle stories. But this is how I became me. At some point, I started to do more of the transformational work. And I've also always been a coach. I've been a coach for chiropractors and other business owners and entrepreneurs because I see the big picture. I help people clarify what they want, where they're going, and their big vision. So I've begun over the years working with people to do intuitive sessions, spiritual advising, and a form of intuitive chiropractic also. And I work as a guide. So now I work helping people resolve some of the other challenges that are not their fault, but that may come from things like identity theft or being sued or being overwhelmed by their business or the IRS come calling, an audit. So I've also included coaching people on how to handle that. The goal
And,
is to not procrastinate. It's to have a
yeah.
clear field so we could just make a sprint for it.
And when did you know, without a doubt, that you were on the right path?
Oh, well, you know, so I have a I have heard the Hallelujah chorus several times when I'm on the right path. I really literally heard it, but I also can like literally feel my heart singing. So when I took the kids to I went to different preschools years ago to find a good one for my kid. First one I walked in kind of left me just shocked. I don't know, weird. The second one I went into was sort of more neutral. You're trying to figure out if you can put your kids there. The third one I went into, and suddenly I was in love. I loved them. I loved the people. I loved the place. I loved the teachers. And my heart really kind of started singing. It was like it was a no brainer. And that to me is the easiest way to make decisions is does this satisfy my soul in any way, shape, or form?
And I guess that's one of the key elements too, right? When especially when we're talking procrastination, I mean, it could just be that we're trying to do something that's not aligned with us.
Yeah, if you're a super creative person and they're making you memorize biology and formulas and chemistry, you might go nuts. Like, I have two different sides of me that they're both strong. I have my doctor side. I had to memorize everything, take my boards, and I was very good at it. I can't believe it, but I was very good at it. Now, if I have to think about those things, it hurts my brain. Why? Because I've been in the creative world, the writing world, the speaking, and the art. And so literally, I feel like I have to put my brain in a box.
No, I can see that.
It
And
hurts.
just touch on your books too. And everybody hates me for saying it. Everybody hates me for saying, but I always say it.
What, to
This.
talk about my books? Why would I hate that?
Well, no, it's because the question I always ask is, they say that 98% of writing is procrastination and it's 2% actually getting it done. How true is that for you?
Oh, well, that's pretty funny that you should mention that. Yeah, sometimes, except when I have a, there are times that I write that I can't stop. It's like pours out and it's not thinking, it's really just writing. And so when I began my first book, The Miracle Makers Club, that's exactly just poured right out of me. It didn't even take long to write because it just poured. However, this summer I decided to do a rewrite of the book And I had to deal with my own procrastination about rewriting the book. All right. But what I discovered in the rewrite was that it was a really good book. I'm reading it going, wow, Joan, how did these ideas come to you? I was totally blown away as I reread it. And also I was really back in wanting more miracles to happen again. And the book's been great for that. So it's called The Miracle Makers Club Manifest Miracles Daily. And it breaks it down into action steps, a lot of questions for you to ask about your life and what you're looking for this life. It helps you really get clearer about your purpose by the end and what you're here to do, and how you too can shift into a more positive transformational zone.
And what would you say is, I'm sure there's many things, but what do you think is one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves in that sense?
Oh, well, this is an esoteric question. I think one of the I think it's a big answer, because number one, you want to be aligned, your body, mind, and spirit, for what you're doing. If there's a disconnect, like you're forced to go to school and you're forced to do math, and you're a creative who can't do math, it's torture, procrastination galore. But if you align your body, mind, and spirit to what you're doing, then that's a lot better. Now, so you have things you have to do that are a have to, like to chop wood, carry water, because this I need to eat, thrive, and survive. I get through that by really sitting myself down at my boring tasks, and it's like chop wood, carry water, so I can have that juice that I talked about in the beginning, Popeye's juice. Chop wood, carry water. 2020, I was really struggling for a little bit, because I thought, oh, everyone seems to be freaked out. Maybe I should be freaked out too. But I got the guidance at that point to create 30-day intuitive training, free. I did it for 30 days, and it like got me right. It overcame any procrastination I had. So I suppose I set deadlines for myself and tasks to break free.
Okay. And just going back to how you help people now, and what you're doing. I know one thing that a lot of us procrastinate on is protecting our identities online, or even doing taxes, or all those things. How can you help with that?
Okay, well, first let's talk about that. So last summer, I discovered, after that hack of 2.5 billion social security numbers, I discovered I now had at least three people using my social security number. And I went into a panic. One of them was trying to get a loan in my name. So when you have attacks that are happening all the time now, frequently, they estimate, like, I don't know, billions of people, at least 2 billion people are affected every year by identity theft. Now, it's an attack on, and it becomes very difficult to deal with emotionally. You call the IRS, you call the Social Security, who else do you call? No one will do anything for you as a private person. They don't care. And you have to find a way to deal with that. So it's not just the identity theft. Do you own a home, Chris? Good.
Yeah.
Did you know that people are stealing your title? I mean, they may not be actually stealing your title today, but there is a whole pattern now where they are stealing people's titles and taking mortgages out in your name. So being protected against something like that, so that if you find out someone has your title, you have a company that you've already paid your legal shield, your identity theft. If you've already prepaid that for less than $1 a day, you'll have an attorney working for you. Now, that's the advantage of having prepaid insurance. Like when you have a car accident, you can't go buy insurance the day after and expect it to cover you the day before. Just doesn't work that way. Now, So if you get hacked, now if any of you are getting hacked and you reach out to me, the company will also cover you and give you a discount, but better to be prepared. So we offer in the identity theft. Now, this wasn't the first time I had to deal with it. I've had my Facebook hacked. I've had people send money to my Facebook account thinking it was me and wondering why I hadn't thanked them, you know? But or all those spam emails that you get, the phishing emails and the text that says your package is waiting for you at the UPS office. I've had friends lose thousands of dollars in those scams. So part of what I do is I teach people not only how to protect yourself, but also I work with a company that will protect you and protect you, your legal services, like you. If someone tried to take over your house, no, we have legal services that can protect you ahead of time. Also, this is incredible, IRS audit. Now, I paid for an IRS audit. I can't even tell you how much because I don't want to, but it was a fortune. And if I had had 100 free hours included in something I was doing, that's also another way to use it. So I think I think it's like having discernment, pre start protecting because they're getting worse.
And well, one of the reasons that it happens so much, and we always kind of procrastinate on it, is that we always hear the stories, but we always assume it's going to happen to someone else and not to us. But what are some of the ways, maybe one or two quick ways of how we can protect ourselves from that?
Well, number one, do not do not click on links in emails that you receive. And I think any email you receive. So right after I started working with Legal Shield, it's kind of funny, I got an email from Norton, and because I had been using Norton, and the email looked really normal. It looked just like Norton, and I forgot to check the email address of the sender. So and I actually called. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I fell for the whole thing. And now he's telling me what to put in my browser. And suddenly I woke up like, oh my God, Joan, what are you doing? And I woke up. So it can happen to anyone. So I was able, thank God I hung up and closed my browser. But when you get an email that tells you to click a link, you should always look at the top at the address. So sure enough, I went back and that email did not come from Norton. It came from some Joe Blow. So that is one of the first ways to protect yourself. Second of all, if you get a text that says your package, you need an extra dollar for the postage, or even we've lost your address, or don't just delete it. Just delete it. Anyone asking you for money, just delete it. If they really want money from you, they'll come about it a different way. So those are two things that I really think are important. And third is do not use passwords like your name or peace and love. Do not use something that spells a word. And that's the third thing. So Legal Shield, we have a password program because you really want complicated passwords. I know it's disgusting. You can't remember them, but you have too many accounts anyway to remember any of them anymore. And do not repeat the same one over and over again. I mean, use things like the dollar sign, the at sign, hyphens, just use it all because these hackers are getting smarter.
And just talking about going back over to the IRS audit too. That's horrible because I mean everybody does their best to do it. Um, so does the company also help you file those returns, or they just do the audit process?
No, no, they don't do stuff like that. They advise you. And yes, they'll, oh, well, that's interesting. They're going to help you with the IRS audit. So that means they're going to help you file the paperwork or create the paper or do the paperwork in a way that it gets filed. I'm assuming that you get what you need to face the audit. It's a lot of work, by the way. You don't really want to have an audit. It's certain things take over your life. But if you're protected, so the difference is this: I had to pay an attorney $400 or $500 an hour. All right, you get this attorney for the cost of your policy, which might be $50 a month. Or if you have a business policy, it would be more, but you're not paying three or four or $500 an hour, and that makes a difference. 100 hours at $500 an hour would be what, 50,000, and that's, I paid more than that for my audit. So you have to know that that happens. The other thing about the Legal Shield, which is good, is that they'll help you make a will. So all the policies cover making a will. They'll help you if you have an accident, or let's say you get a ticket. They'll help get it off your record. Say you have an accident, or something happens right then and there, you can press a little button on your cell phone, and it'll direct you to the attorney's office, and they will call you back immediately. So if you get stopped, your kid gets stopped on the freeway, you can have legal help immediately also. So there's a lot of nifty things. They'll review your documents. If your landlord's trying to illegally kick you out, they'll look at that. So it's very helpful. I've already used it 3 or 4 times for things I didn't know, because rich people have an attorney. So I just tell people now, if you don't cooperate or on this, you'll hear from my attorney, and it feels very powerful.
And what do you think is the most challenging experience when you're trying to overcome, identity theft or an audit? What is the most challenging aspect to overcome from that?
Well, those are two different things, because the audit, you're looking through all your paperwork. Honestly, you're looking through your checks, your paperwork, your balance sheets, um, everything, and that's a lot. If you don't have an accountant brain, that could drive you nuts. But the identity theft is different to handle, because it erodes at you. There's something happening that's attacking your computer. Say you're hacked. I was hacked really badly. The guy got um, the guy started changing my passwords. I assume it's a guy. I don't know. Right in front of my eyes, and it took months. And so it's hard to focus. Now, talk about procrastination. It is really hard to focus on your real work when you're stuck doing this crappy stuff that you have to do, which is time consuming. And the government, there's no one who's going to help you with with this. The government, I called Social Security. They're not going to check to see who else has my number and then tell them, no, we're going to give you a new number. They don't do that.
Hmm. So, I don't know how much of the process of this you know. So you don't get a new number. Um, but what are some of the things that Legal Shield does to help combat that? Do they send letters? Do they what do they do?
Yes, you can have a qualified attorney sending letters, and you'd get more of a response. The other thing is that I have a team now at the Legal Shield, that they're always searching the dark web now for my identity. Plus, they called me with emergency phone calls and texts the day that this person was trying to get a loan. So, because of them, I was able to stop that before it happened. But let's say it happens. What they'll do is then they have a way to somehow get that off your credit and make someone else responsible. I don't know how they do it. Like, I don't know exactly how they get you your title back, but they have their private investigator, and they will get this back for you. They'll protect you. So having the protection ahead of time, I think, is a safer way to go.
Mhm.
For me now, if anything happens, I just go to the app and I call them. So I don't stress as much. I don't go into my panic. I mean, really, honestly, people panic. They have acute. I should talk about the acute trauma from getting hacked and from having a friend of mine who's in the company had his father lost his entire, well, two-thirds of his retirement fund through some kind of scam, just like we're talking about. And he didn't have legal shield at the time. Also, you want to make sure that you have a will so that if anything should happen to you, um, if someone else in the company, Jason, the mother of his daughter, he had two kids, a son and a daughter. The daughter was his girlfriends from another partner, but he's the one who brought them up. So he brought up the daughter and the son, and she died without a will. And the grandparents come in and swoop up the kid who doesn't even know them. And Jason was the dad forever. So had she had a will. So little stories like this make you realize that, oh, maybe there's something to it.
Hmm. That gets me thinking a lot about AI. You're just mentioning that these attacks are only increasing, and they're increasing, and now it doesn't even need to be a person. It can just be a person who goes and has this bot that goes and it never gets tired and it just keeps going and going and going.
That's happening a lot. And you know how a few years ago people relatives were getting a call that their kid was kidnapped in Nigeria or something, and we need this. He needs money, or I'm stuck here. I have no money. Send me money. What AI does now is that they can mimic the voice of your kids. And so you actually think it's your son or your daughter who's now been kidnapped, or ran out of money somewhere and is in a terrible situation and you need to send money immediately. A lot of people still fall for that one, but now they make it better because they have the voice of your loved one. They mimic it. And so they can mimic almost anything. So we do have a challenge with AI.
Hmm. Well, we have a challenge, but on the other side of that, I mean, AI has also helped, I guess, you create quite a few works of art as well. Is that the case?
So I am now a digital artist. So I told you about how I started painting 33 angels in 30 days. And I painted a lot of angelic beings. I channeled them. And then 3 years ago, I went on the road and I started traveling around the world speaking and putting on events. And so I couldn't paint and I turned to digital. So but I still sit and focus and channel in a way. And so the ones that are really good are the ones that sort of I feel like have been sourced.
And so how does that process work then? Is there a specific tool you use?
Yes, yes, yes. I usually am in meditation, and or I'll pull a card and something gets triggered, a thought, idea, or an image, and then I'll just go to one of my apps. Number one, I'll look to see if I have any of my own art that kind of looks is a base, and then I'll just ask to be shown, and I just go into sort of a zone for about an hour or two of just creating hundreds, like not hundreds, but a lot of images until the ones the ones that are really good come out.
And you're talking about the channel guide, being a channel guide, right?
Hmm.
And having these miracles. Is there one particular miracle or two particular miracles that really stood out to you, or as being.
Well, first of all, the art really does have high vibrational frequencies. I do something called art activation. When you take it home, I align your body, mind, and spirit with the art, and people notice tremendous shifts in their energy when I do that. But miracles are an interesting thing. I have miracles all the time. I mean, really, I call anything that's unexpectedly good a miracle or that's beneficial. So I don't know. It was about 7 years ago. I'm in the desert where I was living, and I was confused about whether or not I wanted to go back as a chiropractor. It's just confusing to me. And I went out under the full moon and I said, if you want me to go back to chiropractic, then give me an office. Just give me a chiropractic office that's fully functioning and give it to me. Okay. Just you. And of course, it was one of the impossible ones, right? And I shouted. I was like mad at this point. I was like, I'm confused. I don't know. And this is what I want. You want me to go back as a chiropractor? You give me that office. The next day, around 10 or 11, I get a phone call from Dr. Chase, who had the one chiropractic office in town. He said, I'm having back surgery next month and I want to give you my practice. It's yours. Okay. Now, it worked. So that miracle manifested. But what happened was I should have also put in a thriving office, easy to manage in a good neighborhood, because really I couldn't take it with all the homeless people there. It wasn't the right neighborhood for me. But the proof was in the fact that I got the offer of the office. So I did it for a month or two, but I couldn't be there alone. It was just weird. Not my neighborhood. But the truth is that because when we ask the universe, we have to make sure we identify what we really want. But I think I just wanted the answer. Did I expect to get offered an office? No. It's like, yeah, I mean, honestly, that's why miracles really do happen when we hold the vision of what we really want and we ask for it and we raise our energy to attract it.
Is there any sort of practice that you recommend that people can do every day to sort of raise those energy levels sort of naturally and easily?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things we could do. I mean, you could do meditation, yoga, walking, walking. You could do, some of it has to do with the food that you eat and the practices that you keep also. A lot of people like to chant or hum different tones. There's a lot of great things you can find on YouTube, positive thinking, sing to yourself. Um, During 2020, my daughter arrived in London for a new job and she knew no one, and everything got shut down, lockdown. So she just turned on music every day. She said, Mom, I had a dance party every day with myself. She said, that's how I got through, because she didn't know anyone. And you do what makes you feel a higher energy.
Okay, so there's no real, you know, um, no real right way or wrong way. The only, well, I guess the wrong way is if you do something that makes you feel bad, then you're probably doing the wrong thing.
Right, right. Because if it feels really good, then that's a plus. We know how we feel about things based on our attitude. And procrastination, if you have an assignment to do that just you're dreading and you hate it, then what I would say is the following: reframe it. Number one, give yourself either you could give yourself an award, a reward, or an award once it's done. And I have done that. I promised myself hot fudge sundaes, all sorts of treats or goodies, or I'll go out for my walk when I do it. So you can negotiate with yourself, because some things you have to do. You might have to chop wood and carry water, which is a metaphor for all your chores. But um, yeah, and healthy people actually complete these chores so that they can have a balanced, harmonious life.
So, just sort of bringing that into the entire package, you find your why
Yes,
and
very important.
find a way to if find your why and also find a way to bring the joy into it in some form.
Yes, try to make it fun. Okay, just try to make it fun. So I do a lot of tedious things at times that feel even more tedious. But my reward, I always give myself a reward for the time spent. And I'm talking about hours and hours spent. But if you have goals and dreams you want to achieve, there's only one way. You actually have to put that vision first and let it guide you, even though your ego says, oh, I don't want to do it, I'm too hot, I'm too cold, I'm too old, I'm too young. Those are all distractions that your ego does so that you don't achieve your dreams. That's how I look at it.
Mm.
You're the one who wants to achieve your dreams, but if you have all these objections and it becomes so hard, you need to look at, okay, I need to really revitalize my visions and my goals so that I want to achieve them.
And just on the subject of goals and visions, what's next for Dr. Joan of Angels? What's what's on the radar for you next?
Well, that's so interesting. Well, number one, I'm going to bring my Legal Shield team out to a big conference, Conscious Life Expo. I'm excited about that. But I was on the George Norrie show. I don't know if you know Coast to Coast George Norrie. He's pretty famous. And he said to me, we was talking about miracles, and I don't know, he mentioned a book on angels and miracles. And I thought, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I have a book that I'm going to start working on, Angels and Miracles. So I guess I have my next book. And I'm going to continue to educate people and help them deal with trauma of getting attacked. And this may not be a physical rape or molesting, but I'm telling you, it feels it feels bad. It does not feel good knowing that someone has your social security number or is taking out. It just doesn't feel good when you're helpless.
No, it certainly does not. That's for sure. We are coming up pretty close to the time, Dr. Joan. Is there anything that you wish that I would have asked but didn't ask, or anything that we should have covered that we didn't cover?
Well, okay, yes. So financial miracles. We didn't talk about financial
Oh, okay.
miracles. One of the reasons I work with Legal Shield is that as the company, is that not only does it allow people to get protected for their identity and legal problems, which is taking the worry off of you, but you can also become an associate and sell the policies. And it pays you like like you're an insurance agent, even though you're not licensed, you don't need to be. But the commission structure is extremely lucrative. It's very generous. I work with one of my friends who's been in the multi-level kind of marketing for a lifetime. Let's put it that way. And he's a good trainer. He teaches everyone how you can look at the systems and actually win. And so there is a big financial potential miracle with this financial. So if you're even interested in, oh my God, I would like to work part time or more income, reach out to me on that because it's a great program. It's a great plan to work with.
Excellent. And actually, a little while ago, you actually mentioned also. You said an expo is coming up as
Oh,
well.
yeah, Conscious Life Expo, February. I don't know when you're going to release this, but yeah, so I usually speak there every year or I'm there. And this year I have my team. We're going to be talking about protecting your soul's identity. So it's going to be half esoteric and half pragmatic.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So how would you protect the soul's identity?
Well, because you're getting, okay, that is true. We have the soul and we have our ego. But what happens is that when we get attacked, it impacts all of us. It just impacts our thinking. It impacts all of us. And so it's a way for me to talk to people about their soul because I love talking to people about your soul and about your name and who you are. And then we look at ways that it could be undermined.
Mm-hmm. And that's in February.
Yes, first weekend, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay. Well, you know what, and to all our listeners, maybe we can actually get the information to that, and we'll put it in the show notes for you, and hopefully you'll be there as well. Well, Dr. Joan, it's been interesting conversation. A lot of great insights. What is the best way for our listeners to reach out and contact you if they have questions or they want to know more?
Okay. First of all, you ask great questions. I actually want you to know that you are a great interviewer, great questions. You can reach out to me, guys. I know the links would be there, but joanofangels.com. And if you're interested in the legal shield or working with it, you just really, I'll give you my website so you can put it there, jhangarter.legalshieldassociate.com, or just text me, 415-717-1385, and you say financial support or legal shield, identity problem, and I'll get back to you. I'll send you information and we'll see if we can help you.
Excellent. Well, again, Dr. Joan, thank you so much for being on the show. And to our listeners, yes, all that information will be in the show notes, just so that you don't have to worry about grabbing a pen and paper. And once again, really, thank you for being on the show, and to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And just remember, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, just go out and try to be that motivation and inspiration for someone else. And we'll see you again next time. Here we go. Cool. Where is this thing going? Oh, 98.